On his way into coalition talks, Social Democrat chairman Sigmar Gabriel kept the Christian Democrats' top brass waiting when he stopped to talk to demonstrators. The small gesture was a display of willingness to listen to what the public wants from the SPD, including, of course, its refusal to compromise on key points in any coalition agreement. But a few days earlier, at the SPD's party convention, Gabriel was confronted with broad-based skepticism among his party colleagues regarding the progress of talks. Bad news for Gabriel, because ultimately it'll be up to them to greenlight a coalition agreement, or not. Their main concern is ensuring that the SPD will get to deliver on as many of its election promises as possible.
I sincerely hope that they will push through their terms in the current talks. If they don't manage, then my guess is that the SPD will be facing a bleak future.
I stand by what we said in the election campaign. Under Merkel, there won't be any new political direction. That leaves me pretty skeptical.
I have some reservations, and I'm also concerned that the SPD won't follow through.
Attitudes that explain the frosty response to Gabriel's appeal for support. He was interrupted and heckled, but he wasn't pulling his punches up on the platform.
I'm talking about the way we deal with one another. That's the stupidest answer you could give. I'm a difficult person to negotiate with, I admit it. But I'm always honest.
To what extent can Gabriel rely on the backing of his party? He maintains that the only way the SPD can forge ahead with its aims is by joining a coalition government.
By insisting on all or nothing, and even when you do a lot to improve people's living standards, then you risk missing many opportunities. And that's not an SPD I want to be chairman of.
As far as he's concerned, the lack of trust the party's base has in the SPD's talks with Merkel's CDU affords him one tactical advantage. It gives him more leverage to stick to his guns. It's a strategy that's especially effective when it comes to worker interests, such as minimum wage. In this particular fight, at least the unions are on his side.
Ultimately, I believe that the SPD has just one chance of repositioning itself more securely in our changing society as the party that addresses people's real-life concerns, including labor issues.
Gabriel is eager to renew the SPD's ties to the unions and see his party reconnect with its blue-collar roots. He says the SPD should be what it once was, a party that cares and is firmly anchored in everyday life. Otherwise, it could lose its core identity.
The people who vote for us want us to make their lives better. So if we make it look as though we're afraid, then our support will drop below 20%. Make no mistake. We must be vigilant.
At the convention in Berlin, Sigmar Gabriel made it clear how he's selling the prospect of a so-called grand coalition to his party. The argument that the SPD can only be effective in government isn't a new one. More importantly, he wants to introduce a members' vote.
I believe that at the end of the day, allowing the members of the SPD, every single member, to have a say is unprecedented and will ensure that our members are invested in their party.
The journey towards the Grand Coalition has already been a fruitful one for Sigmar Gabriel. He's pushed through some of the SPD's key demands. His party might be grumbling, but they're behind him, even though he divides opinion more than ever.